G'day. Well, we've covered the introduction, episode 1. We've covered the body, episode 2. And now we're about to cover the mind. And what I find phenomenal is that so many people spend so much time working on the mind and changing the mind when the lowest hanging fruit sits right in front of our noses. The lowest hanging fruit of mental change is nature. We know and we experience it ourselves. We don't need a theory book. We know that people are different in nature. We know that our cities are being urbanized. And as they do, the incidence of alcohol and depression and addiction and stress in the world is becoming more and more. We are being separated from nature just by the evolution of humanity. The question is, what are we going to do about that? And maybe this video addresses that just in a small way. Have a great day. Enjoy. Welcome back. Mind. But we've done body. We're doing mind now. And then lastly, we're going to do spirit. Let's go all the way back in our scribbles, all the way through the scribble sheet, and realize that when I talk about mind, I'm talking about environment and I'm talking about work. Let's go and have a look now at how we evolve or how we move forward in change in our environment. So, human beings, we are the environment. We are the environment we create. That's just a truism. And the fastest way to change a person or change their mind, to change the whole way a person thinks, is to change their environment. Now, to what? That's going to be the question. I'm glad you asked it. So, what we know for an absolute categoric fact is people are different in nature. So they're not the same in nature. People are different in nature. They think clearer. They're more generous. They're more open. And they're more visionary. All states of mind. So all you've got to do is take people to nature and make them and give people the opportunity to be, let's say, impacted by nature. So we can look at all the spiritual teachings. You know, the Buddha sat under a tree and got enlightened. People went to mountains or the desert. You know, you look at all the great teachings and that people wanted to change their mind or get in touch with God or return to the truth. People went to nature. And more as we urbanize, this is getting harder and harder because, you know, as much as we go surfing at the beach, and we go on our surfboards down the beach, we're so intent on impressing everybody and having a good time that we forget to be in touch with nature. And although that there is a big benefit to being in nature and not being in touch with it, the biggest benefit is when we have love for nature. So the third step in Back on Track is get out in nature and have some love for it. Now that people say, yeah, it feels good, it's nice, it's all these things. But the most important benefit is that it changes how you think. People are different in nature. Well, they're not different. They've still got the same name. They've still got the same address. They've still got the same birth date. They've still got the same job. They've still got the same partner. They've still got the same thing. But when they're out in nature, they think different. And this is what we're after. We're after a return to ground zero, to return to base. So the more often we spend in a null place in nature, which means we're just out there enjoying the sunshine, walking in the park, absorbing the rays of the sun, and what have you, the more often we do that. So that's really hard for people when they're in COVID, because people in COVID are inside a house and the sun, which is the source of all goodness from nature, is being blocked. So what we suggest is when you're in COVID lockdown,
Open as many doors and windows to your house as possible, even if it's freezing cold. Don't heat the house centrally. What you do is try to wear warm clothes so that the indoors and the outdoors are not so separate. Try to let light come in. And remember also that in the dark, light comes from stars. So the sun isn't the only source of light coming to our lives. And that's why there's a huge rise in suicides and depression and everything in the northern hemisphere, in the way northern hemisphere, when whole communities of people are pretty much blacked out for winter. The hours of sunlight gets shorter and shorter. So to change your mind, get outside. That's a beautiful thing, and be still, but enjoy the presence of nature. The fourth step on this, and the one that people get shocked about, is work. So one thing a human being can't live without is a sense of purpose, a sense of productivity. So we do all sorts of things. We become abusive, we become alcoholic, we become addictive, we become all sorts of things when we lost a sense of productivity. So our work is not necessarily what we get paid for. It's not necessarily what other people, where we earn our income or where we invest. Our work is what we feel, where we add value. Now, every human being has a values hierarchy. And when we work, and typically most of us and most people gravitate to their lowest priority. So it's called low-hanging fruit. And so if let's say I value, as I do, helping people in the world open their heart and find a sense of spirit, a sense of consciousness on the planet, a sense of self that is beyond thought. When I look at their life, that person's, when I go to help people and they say, oh, my highest priority is my family. You go, oh, great. So how do you come in the front door at night when you walk in the house? Are you happy? And they go, no, I'm tired. And I go, well, if you're working on your highest priority, this highest priority and walking in the front door happy will become your highest priority. But this person has quite often created an obsession with making money, or trying to rise up the company hierarchy, or earn a few more dollars from something. And so we start working on low priorities, and people who work on low priorities beat themselves up. So let's just say I go to work with someone who's been domestically abused. And I really feel for these people, and I have a great sense of responsibility to make sure they're safe. But when it comes to the healing, I can't actually say they're a victim. I have to say there's a cause. Because otherwise, if we're a victim, we can't. If we didn't cause the problem, we can't fix it. There's a sense of self-actualization goes into this. And I say, well, what would cause a person to get beaten up? Well, nobody does to you more than you do to yourself. So there's no use blaming somebody else for, beating us up. That's the physical side of it. But why did we attract the beating? And usually it's because we were working on low priorities. When you work on low priorities, we attract, and this is really important, when you work on low priorities, you attract calamities, disasters, and humbling circumstances. Now, I'll give you a great example. I'll give you many, many examples of this. But people who say their relationship is the most important thing in their life when really it isn't. Their relationship is not the most, their work is. They need to be able to, therefore, link their family to their work. There are other people whose family is their highest priority and they're going to work. They need to link their work to their family. We need to link whatever we do out of the 7 areas of life, spiritual, mental, social, financial, career, health, and relationship. We need to be able to link everything to our highest priority, to our HP. And our highest priority in life is ultimately our purpose. And finding those priorities, there's the 13 questions, which I give to all my clients. The 13 questions equals your highest values. And there are many other ways of finding your values. And there's two sets of values. There's intrinsic, which never change, and extrinsic, which are the feeder ways to feed our intrinsic values. Our intrinsic values are our motives in life. And so when we're talking about human development and human change, and we say body, mind, spirit, and we are really critical of exactly how the world works around the topic of of change. It's typically this aspect of our change process that causes the problem, because people can make huge efforts with therapy and personal development and learn things in seminars and go to crazy human synergistics workshops and learn all this shit and still work on low priorities. And if you work on low priorities, you beat yourself down. And if you beat yourself down, nobody does to you more than you do to yourself. So what we need to do is change this to high priority. And we need to check in on ourselves daily on the power hour process in this whole body, mind, spirit thing to make sure that we are prioritizing, hierarchically prioritizing the things that link up, that are highest linked to our highest priority. So that's this is the mind now in process, the body we talked about before, and now we talk about the spirit.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. We're up to episode 3. So the next episode, episode 4, is the spirit, mind, body, spirit. It's going to be really exciting. It's a wrap up. And please remember, if you enjoyed this and you have people you'd love to share it with, please do. It's free. All I ask is a thumbs up if you enjoy it and a thumbs down if you don't. And any comments you'd like to make, I'd be happy to receive them. Bye for now.